After months of escaping her stalkers, the poor mother began hiding inside an orphanage, singing a lullaby for her newborn baby, Lu Shu. When the owner of the orphanage came to kick her out, she took one last glance at her baby and asked the lady to look over him while she got some medicine. But after the lady agreed and saw his walnut pendant, the mother disappeared, never to be seen again. Years into the future, Lu had become a broke man who took care of his sister, Keed, because he kept spending all his money on festival scams to satisfy her like a simp. As they walked over to see the main event, the flames nearly burnt Lu's face off. But in that instant, time froze. The entire universe had been held at a standstill, and the walnut pendant glowed in a golden hue. Nobody else noticed it, but Lu realized that the man in front of him wasn't creating optical illusions, but that all of his powers were likely magic. After the show, Lu wanted to uncover the source of his flames. He and his sister Keed sneaked backstage, overhearing a tense conversation. Suddenly, one man shot a tranquilizer at the magician, startling Keed into a scream. Their cover blown, Lu dismissed it, saying, "It's not like we'll report them for shooting the guy." The fool bought their lies anyway. Trying to escape, Lu noticed their leader's wary gaze. As they hurried off, a man approached, asking if they'd spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Lu scoffed, calling it a crypto scam, and walked away. Broke from bad crypto investments, he lamented how bleak life had become. Keed, trying to lighten his mood, reminded him they weren't even blood-related. While he was preparing dinner, she told him that the only thing she wanted to eat was his nut. Sorry, I meant his walnut. But Lu decided to just leave and get her some ramen instead. As he crossed the street in the freezing snow, Truck Kuan was finally about to claim another victim and completely smashed Lu. His soul began leaving his body as Truck Kuan transported his soul into an Isekai anime. But because this is a Chinese anime, the god of the world bestowed Lu with a cheat leveling system, and the walnut on his pendant began floating as he ascended to the sky. The walnut finally broke open and released all of its energy into restarting his heart. After he resurrected from death, there was one thing on his mind. He will never be broke again. So he began telling the man to give him all his money, but random numbers began popping up above him until he ran away. At the corner store, Lu tried to buy ramen, but the manager froze at the sight of blood dripping from his head. Panicked, Lu bolted out, accidentally colliding with a couple on his way home. Once home, he took a bath and discovered his wound was completely healed, replaced by a golden scar on his hand. Curious, he activated it and was greeted by a lottery interface displaying coins he'd unknowingly collected, apparently drawn from others' negative emotions. Without hesitation, he poured his entire balance into a wheel of fortune, chasing a thrill even crypto gambling couldn't provide. The spins drained his coins with no reward until the final spin hit the jackpot. A scroll materialized, inscribed with lyrics from the lullaby his mother used to sing. Compelled, Lu sang the tune, causing the scroll to dissolve into an orb of energy. Suddenly, a radiant light pierced through the cosmos, descending upon Earth. The light surged into Lu, filling him with an overwhelming, otherworldly power. When he opened his eyes, he was floating in front of a solar system. But after losing all his coins, he realized that he could become rich by pissing off his sister all night while they stayed up watching sci-fi animes. Lu felt a sudden explosion inside of his body. So when he went on the roof to investigate, he saw two suspicious men hopping on the top of the roofs. Before he was spotted, Lu tried covering his mouth, but the men had already noticed his presence. They asked him what he was doing up here. So Lu said, "It's not like I noticed how suspiciously they were jumping around like superhumans or anything like that." The dumbass morons actually believed him again and told him to go home before leaping away. As he waited inside, Keed wondered who he was talking to, but a man fell outside the window. So Lu forced his sister to stay inside while he went to check. Her anger allowed him to gain a lot more coins, but she snuck out from behind him and told him to call the ambulance. But Lu was too broke to pay the fee. He wanted to just leave him outside, but when the system granted him coins, Lu realized that the man was pretending to be unconscious. Lu told his sister they'd leave his body to freeze overnight, just like his ex-girlfriend, who dumped him after having a train ran on her by 3 men because he is too ugly. Despite the dark memory, He gained coins from the lingering negativity and felt closer to his dream of becoming the next demon lord. When a man begged for water, Lu handed him a yellow snowball. The man angrily blew it away, pleading again, but Lu shoved him down and began farming him for coins. "I'm helping you rest," he said mockingly as the man writhed in frustration. Desperate, the man grabbed Lu's arm, trying to burn it off, but Lu's heart countered the flames, dissolving them effortlessly. Each attempt only added to Lu's growing coin stash, leaving him amused by the futile struggle. So the man said he was just kidding and wanted to leave. As he got up, Lu told him to avoid the alleys because he might see his wife cheating on him again, and smiled like a ruthless fucking savage while going back to his home. Inside his room, he decided to spend all his coins buying the first item and eat the celestial fruit. Before he knew it, a light beam rushed towards him from the edge of the cosmos, and he was transported back into his solar system, where the celestial fruit became another planet with all the energy leaving his body. He snapped back to reality and saw the tree on his hand. He was now able to carry the bed up with ease, so he wanted to begin farming up even more coins. After seeing a fire on the news, Lu sparked his own flame war in the school group chat, instantly racking up thousands of points at his shop. The next morning, some classmates spotted him selling eggs but pretended not to notice. This routine had become his norm. He confided to the man beside him that most people avoided befriending someone broke. Just then, 3 bullies approached, mocking him for his poverty. Lu smirked and shot back, "You smell worse than my expired eggs," leaving them furious and stomping off in frustration. Once again, their leader tried calling him ugly, but Lu said that his mom is ugly. The guy couldn't believe how hard he was clapped, so he decided to buy all the eggs to act rich. However, Lu was a genius and gave him all of them, announcing that some dickhead just purchased all of his eggs and gaining thousands of coins in the process. The guy flashed his VIP card to pay, knowing Lu couldn't accept cards. Despite this, stacks of cash sat on the table. Just then, Saria, the main love interest, entered the scene but quickly walked away. Turning to the lackey, Lu smirked and said, "Maybe shower next time. Your breath stinks worse than your attitude in class." News broke about superhumans awakening across the globe. A kid shouted that an awakener was spotted on the rooftop. As Lu approached, his body tensed, sensing danger. Racing up the stairs, he realized the girl from earlier was the awakener waiting on the rooftop. The delinquent threatened to throw the principal off, but Lu thought this was a good time to call his classmate ugly to gain more coins. Seeing all the ugly CGI characters, Lu realized this was the perfect chance to farm even more coins. The student raised the principal up, threatening to throw him because he's too young to go to jail, but Lu stepped up and began reciting the fucking Constitution. He told him that he was committing a serious crime and gained thousands of coins when everyone thought he was being a moron. As everyone was distracted by Lu's dumb story, the officers ran towards them and neutralized him. A girl approached Lu, gushing about how hot it was that he saved the day. He shot her down, saying, "Sorry, I'm not into girls who look like guys."
Emotional damage!
Still, this boost was exactly what he needed to rack up all the Fortnite V-Bucks he'd been wanting. But when he walked into class, he froze. 2 suspicious scientists were waiting inside, ready to force him into a blood test. Without anywhere to escape, Lu was forced to take the men's small syringes inside of him. Walking back home, he saw the weirdo from earlier on. At home, Lu noticed his sister had a fever from the cold. Determined to help, he gambled for a celestial fruit to cure her. After several spins and nearly losing all his money, he finally won one. Luck struck again as he earned for more fruits. He fed them to his sister, and her fever vanished instantly. Later, he gave her the remaining fruits, explaining that eating them would awaken powers like his. However, he begins farming up coins again by calling her useless for not ever doing her homework and that her family abandoned her because she was such an ugly, useless loser. The next morning, the teacher announced that special students would be taught by a new instructor, someone Lu vaguely recognized. Among the selected students was Saria. One by one, names were called until Lu was the last. A new transfer student, Zhang, was also introduced, prompting the girl next to Lu to give up her seat, complaining about his stench. That night, Lu attended the secret class, curious why the mysterious man had been chosen as their teacher. The man explained that their blood had been tested using a special alloy, with the darkness of the mixture determining their rank from A to F. Those ranked highest held power capable of leveling entire cities. After revealing everyone's ranking, he dismissed the class. After class, everyone talked badly behind Lu's back since he was stuck at F rank. But Lu wasn't at all bothered by the others texting them that their moms are F rank. At night, Lu consumed the last of his celestial fruit and saw that it was now purchasable in his item shop. He wondered if his Wheel of Fortune has unlocked a new item, but this time it was some expired tofu with his remaining coins. Lu spent the night rolling endlessly, burning through his coins until he finally hit the jackpot and unlocked a new scroll. Before he could read it, the scroll's energy shot into Keith's head, and a dark aura emanated from the heavens. Kay suddenly gained the ability to see the solar system, which left Lu lying in bed, pondering if their two solar systems were somehow connected. Determined to unlock more items, he realized he needed to roll more expired tofu. The next morning, Lu wondered if he could convert his coins into cash. He began spreading the foul odor of expired tofu around, earning extra coins as people reacted. However, one brave soul tried it and found it delicious, causing the entire town to line up for a taste. Days passed with Lu embracing his role as a societal menace, using his stinky food to rake in both money and coins. With time, he unlocked stars in his solar system one by one, his life taking a dramatic turn. Eventually, Lu summoned the final celestial food, completing his solar system. As he did, the same lullaby he had heard as a baby began resonating around him. Consuming the star's energy, he unleashed an explosion of flames across the sky. A mysterious dagger materialized before him, and he realized that the giant star he had nurtured was actually his soul. Driven by curiosity and ambition, Lu attempted to summon the dagger using his soul's power. While he succeeded, the effort completely drained him. As he lay exhausted, he couldn't help but wonder just how powerful he might become once he completed all 7 solar systems. The next day, the teacher introduced the Spirit Stone, a powerful artifact capable of unlocking hidden abilities through meditation. At home, Lu attempted to combine its power with his new sword, but the intensity of his celestial map nearly overwhelmed him. Stepping outside, he noticed a strange old man practicing swordsmanship, eager to show off, but Lu vanished before he could react. At school, the class leader flaunted his strength in an arm wrestling match, easily defeating everyone. When Lu arrived, the leader challenged him to a duel. However, Lu stood motionless, crushing the leader's confidence in an instant. "We can try with the other hand if you're unsure," Lu said, effortlessly defeating him once again. He thanked the class leader for allowing him to awaken once more. During lunch, Lu couldn't resist farming for more coins. He released his toxic gas food, drawing even more people in to taste it. After all, he was the menace spirit reincarnated. That night, his mind trembled with unsettling energy. He told his sister to stay quiet and went to investigate. He found a figure resembling Chinese Eren Yeager, bowing his head. The old man greeted him as the leader of the Heavenly Network. With the world at war, the leader asked if Lu wished to join the Heavenly Network as its final member. Mr. Lee, however, declined the offer. The man explained that their truce was the only chance for peace, then left, promising to bring the medicine Mr. Lee had requested. Before departing, he shot a sharp glance at Lu. The following morning, Lu found himself intrigued by Mr. Lee's swordsmanship, though he wished someone could take care of Keed while he trained. At school, his negative emotion counter continued to rise, and he couldn't help but wonder what Keed was up to. After classes were over, the main love interest glanced towards him. When he got back home, he saw Mr. Lee helping his sister with her math homework, but she called him an ugly old senile man, and the negative emotions all came to Lu. He realized that he could use his sister to farm up even more coins since they were somehow connected. But Mr. Lee was ready to teach him the sword. Before they started, Lu begged Mr. Lee to teach her every single day and pissed both of them off. Once Keed left back to her house, Master Lee brought out weighted vests, each of them weighing at lb, but Lu threw them up in the air like they were a toy, revealing that he was one of the awakened humans. Seeing his sheer power, the old man decided to take a different approach and aimed a piece of paper towards the wall. The birds flew away, and a magical aura began to engulf the paper. "I'll teach you that anything in the world can be cut," the old man said, and with precise movements, he slashed the paper downwards, creating a fissure in the ground that cut through steel. This was his first lesson, and he told him that mastering a single skill is better than being average at so many. Master Li instructed Lu to cut through the air with his sword. Determined to master his power, Lu began slashing, but his stance was sloppy. Master Li corrected him with each attempt, eager to see how quickly Lu could improve. Hours passed, and by the 999th slash, Lu finally felt the wind swirl around him. That night, they shared a warm drink, and Master Li asked what made someone stronger than the rest. Lu responded that true power comes from not following the rules. However, Master Li explained that strength is built from character, experience, and determination. He then asked if Lu would take on more responsibility to grow stronger. Lu paused, then revealed that the only person he cared about was his little sister. He admitted he would never help anyone else, especially since no one helped him when he was younger. Surviving with his sister was enough. He had no desire to be a hero. Master Li, clutching his oversized flask, promised Lu that he would continue his training. The next morning, Keed started to grasp the lessons, thanks to Li's wife bringing her Pringles. However, Lu sensed a strange presence. A man from the Heavenly Network had appeared, and Lu immediately recognized his sister was in danger. He rushed home. At home, Lu pretended to have forgotten his lunch, waiting for Keed to leave. Once she was gone, the man revealed that ancient ruins were resurfacing and threatening to bring chaos to the entire nation. He sought Master Li's help, but Li turned him down. Before departing, the man mentioned that the final spot in the Heavenly Network was still open. Keed returned, and Master Li was eager to show her progress. He asked her to recite the phrase he taught her. After almost having a heart attack from her attempt, he handed Lu 2 vials to test their rankings before walking off. At night, Lu was excited to see how much he'd evolved from the celestial fruit and saw that his blood had turned dark enough to classify him as an A rank. However, his vial began shining the colors of the galaxy, and he wondered what this could have meant. As he tried burying it outside, Master Li asked him what rank he'd become, but Lu lied to him, saying that he was still an F rank and farmed his ass for more coins. Throughout the nights that passed, he continued singing his song, completing more planets in the nebulas until a blue aura began surrounding him. He tried something you shouldn't try at home and realized that the second solar system provided him with protection against injuries. He wondered how his sister was doing, but inside of her solar system, black holes were the only thing that appeared, and the center of the nebula began sucking her inside. When he entered her room, he saw how she was consumed by the darkness of her celestial map, but she snapped back to reality and told him that she finally broke through the first layer. Lu was curious about the abilities Keed had unlocked, so she focused her energy and summoned the body of an ant. The insect, which had died the previous night, now obeyed her every command. Lu wondered if she could summon more, so outside, she found a group of frozen ants and tried summoning another. However, the moment the new ant appeared, the first one disintegrated. They realized her power was limited to 1 summon at a time. Lu asked her what else she could create. She conjured a bird, explaining that her summons didn't drain her energy and could live forever. Lu then wondered if she could summon an awakened person, but instead, he took her to a barn and selected a pig for testing. He punched the pig, expecting it to react like a normal one, but then realized it would be better to summon his magical sword. As soon as the sword appeared, the pig ran for its life, but the blade struck it down in one swift motion, annihilating it instantly. Keed joked about making her brother her next summon, but Lu promised to make her scrambled eggs for a week instead. She wanted them for even longer. As Lu fed her, he felt a surge of energy coming from the bridge. He stood up to investigate, but Keed jumped on his back, eager to tag along. Leaping across buildings, they spotted 3 men fighting against Lu's instructor. Among the bandits was a drunk awakener, adding to the chaos. The bandit cast hundreds of fireballs towards Sci-Fi with ease, but he managed to parry all of them with his hand until the ropes of the bridge caught fire while he was distracted. The man leaped towards him and used his strength to nearly crush him down. But as he ran away, one of them began manipulating the floor beneath him to throw him off balance. The second defender rushed in with her sword and took care of his allies. None of the bandits could land a blow on their leader, so she activated his magical sigil, causing both enemies to explode instantly, using the fog to mask the attack. Their leader hid within the smoke. Two of Xi's comrades charged in, but as soon as they entered, a massive explosion set the bridge aflame. When the smoke cleared, the three bandits emerged unharmed. Lu instructed Keed to head back while he investigated the bandits' identities. The National Guard had fully surrounded their location and started infiltrating their hideout, but the bandits had already escaped through an alley. The two lackeys, realizing their fate, begged their leader to surrender. However, their leader explained that the Heavenly Network wouldn't let them go after eliminating two of their soldiers, so he decided to create a distraction while they fled. With the soldiers closing in, the leader blasted the door to knock them out, but the rest of the soldiers had already surrounded him. Using his comrades as human shields, the leader fought his way through, but one soldier enchanted his sword with body paint and stabbed their leader against the wall. Trapped, the soldiers noticed Lu's glowing aura above them. He tried to cover by claiming he was just looking for his lost cat. She, commanding the soldiers, ordered them to capture Lu while casting sigils at both of them. However, Lu front-flipped across and used their swords as stepping stones because he was a parkour god now. The bandit threw his comrades as distractions, but the general used his swords to open his wound, and they began fighting against him at the same time. Luke countered both of the female soldiers and used one of their sheaths against them in battle. He dodged all of their attacks with ease and countered by sheathing her sword back, knocking her against the wall. When the second one ran behind him, he used the sheath to knock her back to the other side. Using his superior acrobatics, he backflipped to avoid the sword slashes, knocking the last soldier unconscious beneath him. The leader was capable of parrying all of the soldiers' blows, but the dual wielder pinned him against the wall and nearly restrained him. However, the man crushed the metal swords with his bare hands and grabbed his head, launching tens of punches towards his throat and dragging him across the wall. Z cast several sigils towards the man, but none of them even left a scratch on him. He threw the unconscious soldier towards Lu and punched towards the ground, creating a black mist that blinded the entire field. She tried to catch Lu off guard, but he leaped and knocked the pole down. Debris began flying from inside until she cast his sigils to light up the entire field, but a barrel came right towards him. As soon as he realized it was filled with gas, the barrel exploded in his face, and he was sent crashing towards the wall while burning away. When the fog cleared, Lu noticed how all the soldiers had been knocked away, and the bandit was the only one who remained. So Lu powered up with all of his energy. The bandit prepared to punch towards Lu, but he managed to hold it off with his fist. His corpse dog sword inside of him began burning, and it pierced through the bandit's bone, ripping his entire arm off. Once he was home, he took off his invisibility cloak and told Keed that he wanted to test her powers one more time. As they left the house, Lee wondered what the fuck they were doing so late at night. So Keed said he was taking her to a 5-star restaurant and will spend his entire life savings to make her happy. Lu asked Master Lee if he wanted to join them, but the old man warned them to be cautious at night. As they approached the scene, Keed summoned her bird for a better view, ensuring the area was clear of enemies. Once she confirmed safety, Lu returned to the location of the fight, only to find that all the bodies had vanished. Keed jumped in and sensed the lingering energy of the fallen men. Lu suggested she absorb their souls, and she took in one of their energies but couldn't release it yet. She believed that after a day of rest, she'd be able to summon the spirit. Lu was pleased with the progress they were making. He then decided it was time to go home, but Keed reminded him he still hadn't taken her to the 5-star restaurant. Lu jokingly said he was just making excuses for the old man, but Keed teased him, saying she'd drain his empty pockets at the noodle shop instead. She devoured her noodles, and Lu smiled, wishing he could take her out every day if she stayed at the orphanage. He wanted her to have a better life, but as he spoke, Keed's eyes filled with tears. She told him it didn't matter if she didn't have a coat or enough food. What truly mattered to her was that she had him, her family. Lu remembered the day he first sneaked out of the orphanage, and how Keed had held his hand, begging him not to leave. Back then, he had walked away, leaving her behind. The next years had been difficult for him. He had struggled with homelessness, selling eggs to pay rent while trying to study whenever he could. The loneliness had begun to consume him, until one day, Keed appeared before him again. At first, he tried to send her back to the orphanage, but she refused to leave. Her smile had become his light, helping him push through the hardest days. He took her back to his apartment, and she had been so happy to live with him. When his egg sales didn't cover food, he would gather damaged crops from other vendors to bring home for her. Despite the hardships, Keed had always done her best to care for him. Even when he was too sick to leave, she would sell the eggs on her own. As long as she could stay with him, nothing else mattered. Despite the freezing winters and their struggles, Keed's determination to support her brother never wavered. They became each other's warmth and survived through every winter, remembering all the things they've been through. Lou revealed that he wanted to buy their house eventually. He doesn't want to worry about constantly paying rent and living on the edge of starvation. So he promised his sister that they will one day buy their home because they are family. She held his hand, wondering if their days were going to get better. So he told her that they definitely will and held her hand closer. The following morning, Lou was back to selling his stinky tofu, but he was beginning to run out of it, and people had grown accustomed to its stink, so he wasn't able to gain more coins. One of the people asked Lou if they could get more than one tofu, but he told him that they're all sold out and gained coins off all of them. He realized that just by telling these hungry fools that he was sold out, he would get rich as fuck, so he began baiting them into thinking he had tofu and then crushing all of their useless dreams. Late at night, a man secretly took all of his wife's savings and disappeared. As midnight struck, Keed finally achieved her goal. She knocked on Lou's door, revealing the man she had summoned. Lou was curious if she could control him, and Keed revealed she could do anything to him, including reading his memories to find where he had hidden the stolen money. Focusing, she recalled the exact location where he and his partners had concealed it. She was eager to retrieve it. However, Lou told her they would return the money to the police once they found it. Keed felt a pang of sadness, questioning if they really needed to give it back. She thought if they kept it, they could buy their own house and stop worrying about her being sent back to the orphanage. Lou knelt down, looking at her with sincerity. He promised he would never abandon her and that, together, they would earn a home the right way. However, he told her to get her ugly-ass face to sleep and said, "Good night, girl. I see you tomorrow." She walked away angrily, but Lou remembered how badly she wanted to keep living with him and saw the flyer for his home, saying it was on sale for $240,000. The following morning, the fat person who stole his wife's life savings walked in front of everyone in the school. But Lou realized he was a B-rank awakener. The man took the podium and introduced himself as the new director of the school. However, Lou felt like something was off about the guy. At night, the new director introduced himself as Lee because the author couldn't bother to come up with more names and wore a Harry Potter suit. Since they have located a mysterious C-rank awakener who easily destroyed an entire field of soldiers, they will begin providing all the students with spirit stones each month in accordance with each person's strength level. C-rank awakeners will be awarded 1, B-rank will receive 2, and A-rank will receive 10. The class leader looked at Lou mockingly but panicked when he saw Lou smiling and texting him. Lou messaged him that he had awakened thanks to wrestling with his mom all night and said, "Congratulations, you played yourself." After class, Lou met Zhang in an alley and asked if spiritual stones could be sold on the black market. Zhang explained that while selling them was illegal, there were wealthy buyers willing to pay $100,000 per stone. Realizing the opportunity, Lou offered to sell them for $120,000. Zhang quickly called a potential buyer, and within moments, the deal was sealed. The buyer asked for Lou's bank account details, and he was amazed at how quickly everything fell into place. Trusting Zhang, Lou handed over the stones. With the deal closed, Lou felt relief, knowing he wouldn't have to endure another freezing night just to provide for his sister. He bought her snacks from a convenience store, then handed her the land deed for their new house, telling her it was finally theirs. He also gave her a new phone, already saved in her contacts as her brother. Starting tomorrow, he said, this place will be theirs. The courtyard, the floor, the walls, the plates, and even the ants, they will own all of it. She hugged him, crying because they're finally going to be together, and asked him if he's going to continue needing to work every day. He told her that he will keep selling so they could afford their food, but the fucking menace just wanted to piss people off for coins. In his bedroom, the celestial map appeared before him once again, and the second nebula was finally completed. At the same time, however, a dark, ominous aura continued swirling towards his sister. While selling his food, Lu made fun of all the people for being broke, saying, "You're broke," and gained hundreds of points. Lee came up and asked for some stinky tofu, but realized that Lu's face was familiar. Lu revealed that he's one of his students, so Lee told him that he will be getting the tofu for free every day. But the seller right next to him screamed at the director to stop taking advantage of poor little ugly orphan Lu because his mom already didn't love him, which is why she threw him out, and everyone in school bullies him because he's such a disgusting, lonely loser. The man tells him that Lu works every single day just to barely afford his food at home and studies with all of his free time. Hearing his sad story, Lee cried and handed Lu $100 as an apology. The man wondered who the fuck that cheap bastard was, and Lu said he was their new principal. After completing the paperwork for their new home, Lu received a call from an unknown number, urging him to head to the recently opened ruin. He quickly messaged his sister, sharing the good news that they now owned the house but had to leave for a few days on a field trip. Later that night, a girl on Tinder messaged him a photo, but Lu dismissed her, saying she looked so unattractive that it was no surprise her dad left. "You're a victim," he added. A convoy of military vehicles transported them to the ruin, and Lu joked that they smelled like an anime convention, earning him some coins. Upon arrival, they were served a meal by the chef, but the class leader approached, mocking Lu for finally eating real food instead of dumpster scraps. Lu sighed as Sarah appeared briefly, vanishing when he turned to look for her. As they ate, a large man searched for a seat, and a soldier offered his to calm him down. Once he left, however, Lu approached him and told him to stand up, but smacked him in the back of his fat-ass neck, causing him to lay unconscious on the ground. "What a menacing Chad," Jang said. He was surprised that he was able to put that fatso in his place and offered some of his food as a reward. He told him that since they were next to the ruins, their systems would level up much faster. So at night, Lu wondered how he could enter his celestial map without singing his lullaby, but realized that he could use all this time to gain coins instead. While the class leader was meditating, Lu began breathing heavily on him and kept distracting him from his meditation. The fucker started reciting his life story to distract his thoughts and kept laughing in his face. The points kept going up all night, and by the morning, the menace had gained coins off being an annoying cunt. Lu couldn't help but wonder how his sister was doing, but there was no self-service during lunch. The chef, impressed by Lu knocking out the person devouring a whole barrel of food, gave him more to eat. Meanwhile, a soldier offered his seat, but Lu declined, opting to sit on Jang's lap instead. Jang asked how Lu planned to rank up, and Lu casually explained that he just needed to arm wrestle the class leader again. Every night, Lu recounted his life story in exhausting detail, pushing the class leader to the brink of insanity. Desperate for peace, the class leader fled to a cliff's edge, hoping to meditate in solitude. But Lu followed him, and the class leader, unable to escape, considered jumping to end his misery. The next day, while meditating apart from the others, Lu entered his celestial map, releasing more fruits and unlocking a new planet. A swirling light formed a dark cloak around him, granting him new invincibility. During lunch, the group tried to let Lu go ahead, but the class leader caught up, laughing and mocking Lu for still being stuck at F rank. Lu challenged him to another arm wrestling match to prove who was stronger, but the class leader insisted on a spar. She, however, declared that only arm wrestling would be allowed. Reluctantly, the class leader agreed. Inside the camp's tent, both of the guys faced off against one another, and everyone was betting on the class leader to win. But as soon as the round started, Lu smashed his arm into the table harder than he smashed his mom last night. He began screaming that he ranked up once again, and the poor class leader started wondering why he was clapped harder than his mom. She asked Lu if he wanted to arm wrestle as well, so they began facing off against one another, but Lu defeated him instantly, and he said that it's all thanks to the class leader's mom because he gets to wrestle her every night. After they were done, Lu noticed a missing thing from the ruin, and Jang revealed that the portal has finally opened. The only way for someone to exit it would be to obtain the eye, or they'll be trapped inside for the rest of their life. However, the alarms began going off, and the fog began spreading throughout the camp, consuming every single person. As they tried running away, before he knew it, Lu was sucked into the vortex and fell onto his head, but barely got up after receiving a severe concussion. In the heart of the wilderness, an axe hurtled towards Lu's head, narrowly missing as he dodged. A skeletal knight charged at him, swinging its sword, but Lu swiftly seized its axe and shattered its bones, taking the creature down. After the fight, Lu climbed a massive stone to get a better view of his surroundings, wondering where the others had gone. Suddenly, an arm emerged from the earth, prompting him to leap off the rock and flee before the skeletons could seize him. Once he'd escaped, a group of 4 students rushed toward him, urgently warning him to run if he valued his life. As they spoke, Lu saw one of his classmates being torn apart by a zombie. Without hesitation, Lu charged in, slicing off the zombie's head and cutting down any others in his path. But as he fought, one zombie leaped on him, aiming to bite his neck. Struggling to regain control, Lu saw the other students frozen in fear, unwilling to help. With a final effort, Lu crushed the skull of the skeleton above him and walked back to the group. They begged him to stay and protect them, but Lu, coldly, told them the zombies would soon rise from the ground, hunting them. He dropped his axe, leaving them to fend for themselves. The girl in the group realized too late that if they had helped him, he might have stayed to protect them. Days passed, and Lu continued to fight. He took down a zombie, then used his acrobatic skills to defeat 5 more, slicing them down with a sword he'd acquired. As night approached, he made his way to a mountain for higher ground but passed the officer who had once offered him a seat. Now vultures swarmed his corpse. Night fell faster than Lu anticipated, but a signal flare shot into the sky. He leaped to intercept it, tracing it back to its origin, determined to find out where it came from. Inside a ravine, he saw a man that was holding a flare gun, but he knew that they weren't given those in his class. On top of that, his system revealed the man's name to be just numbers instead of letters, so he jumped down and wondered if he was a spy. Before the mist had devoured everyone, a group of spies had loaded up their signal flares, and the guy facing Lu was one of them. But since Lu had already pissed off everyone in the school and memorized their mother's faces, he knew that this guy was definitely not one of them, so he was about to have a field day messing with his ass. As the night passed, he continued gaining points just by looking at his ugly face, but the man eventually tried introducing himself as Chong. However, Lu told him that he's never met a person who's this ugly before. Chong asked Lu if he could see the sword he'd picked up, and the two slowly approached each other. Just as Chong reached for it, Lu swiftly yanked it away, teasing, "I'm going to use it on your mom later." Chong, clearly annoyed, reminded him that his mother passed away last year. Trying to distance himself, Chong started to walk away, but Lu apologized, claiming he'd keep him safe, which only made things worse. Lu had found his new target for coin farming, and there was no chance he'd let him slip away. They continued running, with Chong shocked by how fast Lu kept up. Suddenly, zombies began erupting from the ground, surrounding them. Seeing an opening, Chong tried to escape, but Lu was still right behind him. Desperate, Chong demanded the sword so he could protect them, but Lu saw it as the perfect opportunity to provoke him further. As they sprinted for their lives, Lu pretended to be scared, clutching the sword tightly. When 3 zombies closed in, Lu pushed Chong to the ground and bolted away. One zombie lunged at Chong, but he fought it off with a pocket knife and continued running. Thinking he'd finally escaped, Lu stopped to catch his breath, but Chong turned the corner, glaring at him. Pretending to be exhausted, Lu slowed down and Chong, hiding his weapon, got closer. Lu suggested they find a place to rest for the night. Reluctantly, Chong tucked his knife away, and they climbed a massive hill together. Once they reached the top, Lu's curiosity about Chong grew, but he quickly realized this was the perfect chance to continue farming him for more coins. Pretending to fall asleep, defenseless in front of Chong, he waited for the right moment to strike. Before long, morning approached, and Lu had managed to farm coins off this Karen haircut dude, but started feeling hungry for not eating within the last days. So he got up and said he was going to look for something to eat. When he was out of sight, he began eating his stinky tofu and decided to sneak from the opposite way he came through. When he saw Chong laying down and looking for him, he decided to give him 1,000 years of pain, and Chong screamed for his life, but wondered why he was smelling some expired tofu. He wondered how it's possible for him to find food here since he'd been starving for the past week. But Lu began naming all the delicious meat like bacon, lamb, and steak, causing Chang to release all of his anger in a strike. Lu narrowly parried, and with the fog around them, Chang tried slashing him down, but Lu's acrobatics weren't enough to prevent him from being kicked in the face. As Chang spun around to strike, he charged at Lu, but Lu swiftly grabbed his arm and threw him to the ground. Regaining his footing, Chang swung his sword at Lu, but Lu effortlessly parried every blow, dodging and countering with a headbutt before knocking him back with a punch. Realizing he was outmatched in strength and speed, Chang tried to take advantage of a thick fog to strike, but Lu's martial arts skills allowed him to anticipate and counter his every move, knocking Chang down once again. In a desperate attempt, Chang grabbed his sword and swiped at Lu, knocking it from his hands. Just as Lu rushed forward, Sid intervened at the last moment, summoning his mystical corpse dog to finish the fight, slashing at Lu and winning. Sid stood silently, regretful that he had taken the life of someone who had spent a day with him, reflecting on the cruelty of the world. This wasn't the life he wanted, but if this was his fate, he vowed to keep moving forward. He wished he could see his sister one last time. Days later, Lu came across a half-eaten apple and realized he had found some food to replace his rancid tofu. Climbing the tree to reach the fruit, he triggered the wrath of a squirrel, which went berserk. Defiantly, Lu began eating the fruit in front of the creature, stealing its supply. The squirrel's fury intensified, and a massive sumo squirrel emerged from its den, hurling a giant stone at Lu. Undeterred, Lu continued his mischievous behavior, even taunting the animals. After running away, Lu realized the fruit had completely restored his energy and quenched his thirst. Energized, he kept running until the sun began to set and reached a river. He drank deeply from the water and ate more fruit, contemplating that the formation I was likely in the heart of the ruin. Just as he prepared to head there, a wolf appeared behind him, followed by another lunging at him. Lu swiftly slashed it down, but upon turning a corner, he was met by a pack of wolves, ready to fight. Lu sprinted for his life, accumulating hundreds of points with each passing second. As he re-entered the forest, the squirrels began hurling stones at him. He vowed to steal their fruit when he returned. Leaving the forest, a wolf attacked, slashing his arm. Trying to eat a celestial fruit, he noticed the body paint wouldn't stop spreading. Despite the chaos, he was determined to return to his sister alive. He ran through the night, the wolves relentlessly pursuing him. His shoes wore out, so he tossed them, knocking 2 wolves down and kept running barefoot. The absence of shoes made him faster, and his speed surged. Eventually, he outran the wolves and spotted a group of his classmates. Seizing the moment, he made a dramatic entrance before them, ready to face whatever came next. He saw that one of them was carrying his axe, and they asked him if he would help them. But Lu said that he'd rather have all the ugly people pass away, especially for saying asked instead of asked. He had just stumbled upon an infinite coin glitch by roasting desperate people, so he asked them how long it's been since they've eaten. The girl revealed that it's been days, and they were beginning to starve without any food or water. She begged him to save her, but he called her a gold digger and started eating in front of them. The crunches of the apples nearly made some of them climax. The gold digger was back at it again and got on her knees, so he showed her the tasty apple, and she opened her mouth wide open and closed her eyes. The guys, realized there were 8 of them and 1 of him, so their leader threateningly asked him for his food, but Lu began reciting all the different types of Wagyu steak and bacon with maple syrup, blueberry waffles, and the guy slowly started losing consciousness after hearing all those foods. Lu was shocked that he managed to last that long and got up to grab his axe, scaring all of them away. He asked him if he wanted his axe back, and when the man said he did, Lu told him that's too bad, so he took his sword and started running away from them, leaving those ugly losers defenseless, but at least he left them 2 apples. A while back, Lu was trolling a girl during the test, and when he got a note asking him what the answers were, Lu threw a paper to the class leader, saying that he messed his mom last night. A week passed inside the ruins, and Lu couldn't shake the worry about his sister. As those thoughts crossed his mind, the sound of hooves echoed in the distance, and a skeleton knight appeared around the corner, charging toward him. It swung its sword at his face, and Lu barely managed to maintain his balance, narrowly avoiding the strike. As he struggled to regain control, he heard more hooves. 2 more knights were coming. With quick reflexes, Lu seized a spear and knocked the first skeleton off its horse. But more skeletal soldiers arrived, forcing him to climb a nearby mountain to escape their reach. The skeletons retaliated by shooting arrows at him, but Lu skillfully dodged each one. After a while, the archers ceased fire, retreating. Without his spear, one of the remaining skeletons drew a small sword and walked off into the distance. Meanwhile, a group of Heavenly Network soldiers spotted the skeletal cavalry. One of them suggested they target the leader to cause chaos. The soldiers identified one knight holding only a sword instead of a spear. A sniper took aim and eliminated the leader, but they soon realized it was the wrong skeleton. The knights retaliated with arrows, and the soldiers scrambled to flee. As they cleared the area, one of them saw Lu sneaking along a cliff. Seizing the opportunity, Lu jumped down, snatched a knight's spear, and quickly climbed back up. The knights resumed firing their arrows, but Lu dodged every shot, now armed with a new weapon. He found cover in a tree, waiting for the soldiers to move on. Once they were gone, Lu knew his weapons would be confiscated when they left the ruins. To avoid losing his hard-earned gear, he decided to trade them with the other students. However, Lu fell for a trap set by the knights, who began surrounding him. This was all part of their plan, but Lu wasn't ready to give up. He infused his spear with mystical energy and hurled it into the sky. As it descended, it slashed through two of the knights. Lu then charged at the leader, spearing him down, while tossing his axe at another knight. He grabbed a second spear and barely evaded an incoming strike, ducking just in time. Laughing in the face of danger, Lu taunted the skeletons. One of the knights fired an arrow at him, but Lu reacted swiftly, throwing his spear while midair and landing with a new weapon in hand. He eliminated the skeleton that had fired at him, then hurled his spear at another rushing knight. The leader charged at him with a sword, but Lu parried the blow, fending him off and knocking the skeleton off its horse. The battle raged on, but Lu refused to back down, using his agility and strength to outmaneuver the skeletal knights at every turn. Lu swiftly struck down the swordsman and leaped onto the final skeleton, slamming it into the ground. With all the knights defeated, he gathered their weapons. Meanwhile, Keed furiously threw darts at her brother's face, calling him a bastard for leaving her for so long. She opened the box he warned her not to, only to find another box inside. After a series of unboxing, she finally discovered a bag of chips, with a note telling her to wait for his return so they could enjoy it together. Smiling bittersweetly, she put the chips away but felt sad as he hadn't replied to any of her messages. Meanwhile, Lu climbed another mountain, setting up an ambush for more soldiers. As he waited, he meditated and ate another celestial fruit. The magical aura transported him back to his solar system, unlocking a new planet and filling him with newfound strength. The Heavenly Network prepared to attack a group of 9 skeleton soldiers. Just as they were about to strike, a spear rained from the sky, killing their leader. 2 more spears followed, pinning a skeleton to the wall. Lu made his dramatic entrance, and the Heavenly Network, initially ready to assist, found themselves in his way. With precision, Lu eliminated another soldier with his spear and charged at the remaining skeletons, slashing them down with ruthless efficiency. With only 2 soldiers remaining, Lu unsheathed his sword and started sprinting towards one of them, slashing the knight down. When one of them tried ambushing him from the back, Lu ducked and stabbed the soldier, eliminating him. They wondered just how powerful he was, and a guy with literally no fucking eyes and wondered if it was Lu Shu. His friend told him that he should just open his eyes instead of asking the dumbass question, and they wondered what was going on. However, Lu told them that all of the weapons were his. After a while, he managed to gather all the spears and swords and protected all of his weapons. The leader asked him why he's collecting all the weapons if he can't use them, so he revealed that he was wrong and began flaunting his weapons around, telling everyone that they can come and get all the weapons and armor for a good cheap price. All his years of selling eggs have built up just for this moment, and he told them that defense is worth more than gold in this situation. So a man asked him if he could buy a sword, but Lu realized that no one had cash. He asked the man how much his jade necklace was worth, and when the man said $13,000, Lu offered the trade, but the man rejected the deal. A soldier decided to make a deal and offered his $12,000 watch in exchange for the sword. One of them offered a 27-carat gold chain, while another one offered a $2,000 watch. He saw how they were injured, and while every normal person would have wanted to help them out, the fucker decided to just make a profit off their ass. Everyone began lining up, and before long, Lou was more dripped out than a rich rapper. Two people decided to bring their funds together, and he paid $2,000 for a sword, but Lou handed him an axe, saying that $2,000 was too cheap for a sword. But he showed him that the axe was actually sharper than a sword, so the man gladly accepted. By the time he was done trading, the group entered the center of the ruins, and Lou was the happiest man alive to be this rich. After walking for hours, they decided to camp out for the night, and Lou noticed how everyone was starving and running out of water. So for the first time in his life, he decided not to be a menace and handed the leader a bunch of apples so they could each slice it and have a piece. As soon as everyone ate the slice, they realized that all their energy was restored, and all of their hunger and thirst were quenched. One of them came to offer a $31,000 watch for an apple, so Lou gladly accepted his deal and realized that he was about to be a millionaire. One of the students accused Lou of being selfish for hoarding all the food, but he retorted that their lives would be easier if they weren't so incompetent. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the ravine, and a swarm of ghosts began charging toward them. Everyone prepared for battle, but as the ghosts drew near, Lou felt his corpse dog stir inside him. He quickly tried to suppress it, deciding to reveal his true power instead. As the first ghost approached, it was overwhelmed by the demonic aura emanating from Lou. The ghost, terrified, fled, and soon, the rest of the ghosts followed suit, retreating from the area. Lou smirked, realizing that his abilities were becoming more unstoppable with each passing moment. The group eventually reached the heart of the ruin, where one of the students remarked that Saria had saved him from two skeletons before her untimely death. He admired her spear skills, wishing she could hold her weapon like that. Lou feigned ignorance, seeing this as the perfect moment to flaunt his newfound wealth. He began selling his weapons for jewelry, quickly raking in thousands of dollars. By the time he was done, a man called him over to meet the leaders of the Heavenly Network. At the meeting, Lou made sure to show off his wealth, suspecting that Saria might be a gold digger. The leader of the network introduced himself and suggested that Lou stop selling his spears, as he knew the value of the weapons. Lou agreed, and the leader began channeling magic from his core, summoning a sword that shot down the center of the ruin. After scouting the area, the leader declared that they would descend into the ruin the following day. While they rested, Lou's system displayed the presence of 9 spies, each identified only by numbers, but he couldn't figure out who they were. Just then, a tree began to fall, and Lee appeared, shaking it down. A squirrel emerged from the tree and began screeching at Lee, only to stop upon seeing Lou's face and attack him instead. After gathering all the fruit, the squirrel was on the verge of a heart attack from stress, but Lou handed it an apple, and the squirrel, now calm, became forever grateful. Zhang eventually joined Lou, but a group of people attempted to steal some of Lou's weapons. Their leader offered him $50,000 for a spear, promising payment when they escaped the ruin. Lou, not trusting the offer, rejected it outright. After earning coins from someone who had a number for a name, Lou realized he was a spy and told him to get lost. As everyone slept, Lou felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt. His sister's anger was making him wealthier, but he realized she now completely despised him. In the dead of night, the spies quietly stirred and sprinted toward the center of the ruin, each one jumping down into the depths. When the last spy tried to leap, something held him back. Lou stepped in, offering a deal. No snitching if they split the profits, with 99% going to Lou and 1% to the spy. The spy, realizing he had no choice, reluctantly agreed. But as soon as Lou let go, the spy attempted to jump again. Lou swiftly grabbed him, smirking at his helplessness. The other spies noticed one was missing but continued on. One of them tried to ambush Lou by throwing a sigil, but Lou had already moved, standing in a completely different spot. The bandit drew his sword, but Lou shouted to alert everyone, claiming that a spy was attempting to steal the formation Eye. Just then, a mystical tiger appeared, and Lee, seizing the spy, slammed his face into the ruined stone. Realizing there were spies among them, Lee ordered the group to move into the ruins immediately, bypassing their planned rest. Lou suggested keeping the spy alive for questioning, but Lee ignored him and led the charge, dismissing any notion of mercy. The students began lining up, but the director thought that Lu looked dumb as fuck wearing all those jewels. Later on, Lee realized he could finesse his ass, so he asked him if he would like to make a deal. He revealed that hundreds of ruins are going to begin opening, but since he's just a student, he wouldn't be able to enter without his permission, and all of it would be for the price of a single gold chain. Lu thought about the offer but called him ugly and walked away. When everyone was prepared to enter, a woman walked towards the center and activated a magical spell that began creating stairs along the edge of the hole. As they descended, hundreds of ghosts surged from the center, and Lu quickly concealed his corpse dog to avoid detection. When they reached the bottom of the pit, Lee noticed the lifeless bodies of their comrades. Realizing their spirits had been driven from their bodies by the ghosts circling around them. After hours of walking, they reached the entrance to the core of the ruins, but as soon as they entered, the gates slammed shut above them. Crystals began to glow ominously, and hundreds of ghosts materialized. Lee summoned all his magical strength, unleashing a blast that sent many of the ghosts flying, but still more kept coming. The soldiers joined forces, battling the spirits. When a ghost lunged at Lu, it hesitated, clearly terrified, and Lu wondered why he felt so invincible. He began attacking the ghosts, absorbing their bodies into his sword, chasing them away while collecting their coins. Meanwhile, one of the spies' ghosts killed Lee's lifelong friend, sending Lee into a furious rage. He unleashed his tiger powers, wiping out the remaining ghosts. Lu, curious about the situation, knocked out a ghost just before it reached him, earning a large sum of coins. The others were baffled by how he seemed to predict the ghost's movements, but Lu claimed it was simply luck. To demonstrate, he attacked randomly, but when Lee struck the same spot, the others were shocked by the accuracy of Lee's attack, realizing that Lu's success was just chance. Suddenly, an army of zombies emerged from the center gate. Lee declared he would handle their leader, vanishing toward him as their powers clashed. Lee summoned a powerful strike that shook the very ground, toppling the zombie's horse before landing a decisive blow. As Lee fought the leader, the rest of the soldiers engaged the zombies, but Lu focused on spearing the soldiers, getting a triple kill with a single throw. However, one of them nearly shot his face off, but Saria came to save him from meeting his doom and used her agility to evade all of their attacks while slashing all of them down. He thought she looked amazing but began rushing to eliminate a zombie. However, the zombie started running away for his life, and he realized that his corpse dog was scaring all of them off. Their army was slowly advancing, and while Lu contemplated helping his allies from dying, he realized that he was in a giant castle, so he decided to sneak around and start looking for some expensive to sell. In the middle of the road, his corpse dog started beaming light, and a mysterious aura was watching over him. When he entered a certain room, a ghost was preparing to ambush him and leaped forward, but Lu bent over and used his sharp sword to penetrate through the ghost's body, eliminating him in that instant. Lu wondered how many spies were left as Lee fought fiercely, dodging attacks from the skeleton. When the skeleton threw the ground at him, Lee skillfully parried and pressed forward. Despite the skeleton's evasive maneuvers, Lee kept attacking with relentless martial arts, finally seizing the soldier's spear and holding on tightly. The skeleton dismissed him as an annoyance and tried tossing him aside, but Lee hung on, determined not to let go. Meanwhile, Lu reached the door to the castle's inner chamber and opened it. He was greeted by the movement of a knight emerging from behind. As he stepped back, more knights lit up their eyes and began advancing. Instantly, his corpse dog sprang out, halting their advance, causing them to retreat into position. Realizing the situation was perfect for profit, Lu eyed the guards and began pulling their weapons away, earning coins with each exchange. The guards, irritated but powerless, reluctantly gave up their weapons. As Lu continued collecting weapons from each guard, the soldiers outside were still in a desperate battle. Lee tried to grab the spear to escape the formation, but the knight seized it at the same time. Their mystical energies clashed as they fought for control. None of the soldiers were able to make any advancements, but just before the leader was eliminated, Saria unshed her sword and eliminated 5 skeletons within the span of half a second. She told him his dick fell off. The leader of the skeletons concentrated his energy into 3 dragons that began rushing towards Lee, but he barely dodged, and after they exploded on him, The director saw that Lee was trapped by 7 dragons, with an 8th one appearing to bite him from the back. However, Lee wasn't going to give up his grip on the sword, but the skeleton merely let go and allowed the dragons to consume him. As all hope seemed to be lost, Lee released his ultimate spell to break free and rush towards the knight, grabbing his spear and kicking off of him. Saria swiftly eliminated the remaining skeletons, gaining the high ground as she searched for where Lu had gone. Meanwhile, Lu ventured deeper into the room, and the guarding skeletons sensed a presence. Realizing something was wrong, he dropped his spear and fled. Lee grabbed the spear but noticed it wasn't functioning as expected. Realizing the formation, I must be something else. He pursued the knight, but when the leader returned, he found his guards disarmed. Enraged, the skeleton leader commanded the knights to end Lee's life and charged toward Lu's location. The allied forces were beginning to thin out. Just as Lu picked up a strange item, a skeletal soldier appeared behind him. He tried to escape, but Lu dropped a mysterious object from a box, and a girl was about to meet her end as it fell through the air. Lu managed to grab the object, and the colors began vanishing out of the world as he Thanos'd all the enemies out of existence. He heard the words, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good," but at least everyone was finally safe from this horrible ruin. The world began collapsing, and all the ground began breaking down, with the humans being swallowed up. Gravity no longer existed, and everyone's energy was now being sucked to Lu's item. Suddenly, the spears formed a circle around him before vanishing, and the ground beneath him crumbled. The squirrel tried to latch onto him but disappeared back into its world. This sequence of disappearances dragged on for what felt like too long. Meanwhile, Jang ran desperately searching for Lu, while Saria followed his trail. Lee quietly slipped out of camp as the soldiers handed in their weapons. Jang shouted in frustration that he couldn't find Lu, but the director praised him for sacrificing himself to save the others. Some students were relieved, glad he was gone after scamming them, but the class leader, saddened, told the director he could search for his body. However, Lu appeared with his bling and walked up to the class leader, telling him that he can find him in his mom's bedroom. He handed his remaining weapons to the teacher and broke the table as he started walking home. His sister's emotions surged as she spotted a bag of chips and saw him waiting in the tree. Lu reached out for a hug, but she jumped down, kicking him in the face. After checking to make sure he wasn't hurt, she smiled and hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. He apologized for keeping her waiting so long, but she quickly ran home, with him trailing behind. On the way, he showed her the expensive watches he'd collected, but she didn't care about the money, only about him. He promised to take her to a nice restaurant the next day, and they made a pinky promise. Back home, Lee was relieved to see Lu safe and reminded him to rest before their next training session. Lu thanked him for looking after his sister. Once alone, he asked her to call out the energy body, then summoned 2 magical pearls from his own body. She asked about them, and he explained that they were food he absorbed from ghosts, 1 light pearl from ghosts who were once human. He wanted to know what would happen if he ate it, so Lu stuck his ball into his mouth and made him swallow. Immediately, the energy body's strength was raised significantly, but Keed wondered when he would stop bullying her summons. He told her that he had one last present and summoned 2 of the apples from inside. As she ate them and thought they were delicious, the ugly squirrel came out again and started calling her names for eating his food. However, Keed grabbed him and thought he was the cutest thing she'd ever seen and started playing with his face. He told her to name it, so she decided to call him Fatso, but Lu told her that this wasn't a title, so she decided to name the squirrel Lu as well and fed him a potato chip. After the squirrel devoured the food, it was impressed, sparking an idea in Keed's mind. She placed a bag of chips in front of Lu but told him he could only have it if he obeyed her. Lu was stunned by how easily she manipulated him. Once things settled, he focused on the ruin and attempted to send his consciousness into it. As he floated above the city, he felt a powerful aura emanating from him, but something still felt off. Bringing his consciousness back, he ventured to the bottom of the formation eye and saw all his lost weapons. There, a massive door blocked his path. He tried pushing it open, but it barely moved, offering only a glimpse inside where he saw the castle he had just left. However, Keith started trying to wake him up, and when he tried to explain what he was doing, she hugged onto him, telling him that she was scared he was about to leave her again. He told her that he's not going to leave her for a long time and promised to take her to dinner and buy a cool TV with all the gold chains he gathered. The winter snow was finally beginning to melt, and fireworks were lighting up the sky. But Lou was glad to be sharing this moment with Keed, because she was the only thing that lighted up his world. Watch this next video. Till next time, let's do some plot development and like the video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel.